This is the Goodology Podcast, episode number 4.
Welcome to the Goodology Podcast, an audio journey of inspiring people who have overcome obstacles and have worked to make the world a better place. This program presents stories of empowerment and positivity and helps you to answer the questions, how can I help and how can I serve? Find out these answers now and more with your host, Bernie Fallon.
Hey, well, it's nice to have you here. Thank you. I had a great discussion with Jodi Sykes. Jodi is an author, but before she was an author, she was diagnosed with cancer, and that cancer was described as incurable. Jodi was only the 201st person diagnosed with that type of cancer. This was the deal. She was married for 24 years. She filed for divorce within a week of finding out she had cancer. And she moved 300 miles away and started writing. The first book she wrote has a great title. It's called Living La Vida Lymphoma. I talked to Jodi, and her statement was, life is awesome. She said cancer was a gift because it gave her strength that she never knew she had before. She immersed herself in the life of a writer and never looked back. You know, she had other challenges in her life. When she was a young girl, she was in a car accident where she almost lost her leg, and she was impaled on the stick shift of the car, breaking all of her ribs. She has a great law of attraction moment where after she was diagnosed with cancer and after she filed for divorce, she placed an ad on Craigslist telling what she was looking for as far as a cottage. And the next day she got her dream cottage, and that helped her go and heal. So I really appreciate you being here. Thank you, and enjoy my discussion with Jodi. Have a great day. And today we're speaking with Jodi Sykes. I know this to be true. The world is more positive because you are in it. Your beauty and positive attitude and your smile. Are you ready to share what a positive influence you are?
Yes, I am.
How awesome. You know, a lot of times I'll just, read a couple of words with a guest, but I saw on your Amazon page that it had a couple of paragraphs that I like, so I'm going to go ahead and read that, okay?
Okay.
It starts out saying, I think you have lymphoma. In 2009, Jodi Sykes' world spun out of control. With compassion, a sometimes twisted sense of humor, Jodi takes her readers on a lymphoma journey that includes some childhood memories and snippets of sentimental vignettes. She offers candid looks into her treatment and life after the diagnosis. Writing became a therapeutic way for her to deal with the challenges of living with cancer, and she did so in a positive, upbeat manner. She began blogging. The blog turned into this book's manuscript. Love the name, which is Living La Vida Lymphoma. It's a short memoir for a large life. Each passage begins with a quote and ends with an affirmation. It's about taking time to cherish the magic that life has to offer as each day unfolds. It reflects the power of the bonds of friendship and the strength of the human spirit. So, Jodi, can you take it away and tell us how life is for you today?
Life is awesome. I often say that cancer was a gift in a weird kind of way because it gave me strength that I never knew I had before. And I started to live authentically. I knew that every moment is precious, and I decided that I wanted to work full-time on my writing, and that's what I did. I just totally immersed myself into the life of a writer, and I have never looked back.
And you've got an amazing story of how that happened, which sounds really challenging and difficult. You know, decisions are hard to make when you were faced with what you had, but we're going to get into that in a second. Mm-hmm. What I would like to do first is get the positive energy flowing, and there's two words that I love, and those words are I like. And I think when you say I like, it kind of opens up the positive energy inside, and you start feeling good. So can you tell me 3 things that follow the phrase I like for you?
Sure. I like sharing smiles, learning and growing, and inspiring others.
Love that. Thank you. Mm-hmm. And then I like expanded. It's kind of like I like exploded is inspiration. What excites you? What are you passionate about?
I like to help others follow their dreams and realize their self-worth. And I love surrounding myself with positive, like-minded people. I always call it like moths to the flame, that we seem to be drawn together with our positivity.
Wow, that's so important. And I also know that you'll talk about in a minute about your blog, that your blog is a very supportive place for people that have been diagnosed with cancer, or maybe even family members. You know, it's not really clinical, but tell me about your blog for a minute.
Sure. Writing has always been cathartic for me, and that's the first thing I started to do when I was diagnosed. There was a cancer website that I started blogging, my own personal daily blog, and my father started to tell me that it needed to be turned into a book, so that's what I did with the first part of my blog. Then after the book was published, I continued with my daily blog, and it's basically to help others to find 5 minutes of love or inspiration and support. There are many websites out there for cancer patients that are more clinical, but my goal was to make sure that people could go there and still get educated, but also have inspiration for 5 or 10 minutes of their time during the day.
That's so important. That's awesome. So take me back to growing up. Where did you grow up? And I'm sorry. I know that you mentioned that we had something similar, and I was in a car accident that was bad, and you were in a car accident that was bad. Mm-hmm. So, you know, that my mind went to that. But where did you grow up, and what happened when you were younger?
Sure. I grew up in upstate New York in a sleepy little town named Beacon. It's about 45 minutes out of New York City, and I had a wonderful childhood. When I was 10 years old, the family, we went out for a ride one summer evening after dinner, and I was seated in the middle of my parents on the front seat without a seat belt, and we got hit head-on by a drunk driver, and I got impaled on the stick shift of the car under my left arm, and it punctured my lung and broke all the ribs, and then also severed my leg almost totally. And luckily, there was a doctor that was on call at the hospital that was able, you know, originally they thought that they would have to sever the leg or amputate the leg, and then they decided, no, let's just give it a shot, and I'm glad he did. It was, it was a struggle. It was a good 1.5 years, 2 years of living with a leg that was, about 1.5 inches to 2 inches shorter. It eventually worked itself out through the help of a chiropractor. And then my family moved to Florida in 1979, and I've been here ever since.
What an amazing story.
Mm-hmm.
And thankfully for that doctor, and I feel the same way. I'm so happy that they at least tried.
Right.
Because I can't imagine what life would be like with one leg.
I know.
But that's awesome. And then moving on to later in life, you said you've always liked writing, and you were in a marriage for 24 years. What happened when you actually did get diagnosed?
When I got diagnosed, I was told I was only the 201st person to be diagnosed with this particular kind of lymphoma in the world, and I was told that it's incurable. And I just, being the positive person I am, I don't accept it. I don't accept a death sentence. I just totally just continue on with my life. But getting that diagnosis, it sprung me into action. Some people wondered how I was able to just do what I did, but I had been in a loveless marriage for, quite some time, and we had talked divorce. But getting that diagnosis, a week later, I filed for divorce, and then within a month I was totally divorced after 24 years of marriage. And then a couple months later, I picked up and moved 300 miles away. It was the first time I'd ever been alone in my entire life, and I just never have looked back, because I knew that in order to heal myself, I had to get rid of all the toxicity in my life. And
boy, that means a lot. That's right.
Yeah.
Now, back to when you were diagnosed.
Mm-hmm.
They said it was incurable.
Right.
How did you feel at that point?
I wrote about it in the book. It was so surreal to me when he was telling it to me. I kind of have found, I don't know if it's the wherewithal that I had from when I was a child and in that car accident, but I have the strength that I just totally, I just get what it is that they're telling me, and I don't dwell on it. I just get into action. That's the kind of person I am. So I immediately started researching, started doing all kinds of things to try to find, some treatment options, because I've had 11 oncologists since 2009, and not one of them have ever dealt with anybody that has the same disease that I have, except my current one. Yeah.
And so you talk about action, and then you found out you had cancer, and then within 7 days you filed for divorce, and then soon after that you drove 300 miles away. And what was going through your mind? I mean, which is a tremendous decision, and you must have felt, much lighter. But what was going through your mind then?
I really, once I made the conscious decision to move on, there was another step in between the divorce. That next month, when I originally thought that I would like to, come to Saint Augustine to take a look at, where I could possibly live, I ended up falling and dislocating my right arm and breaking the bones in 2 places.
Oh,
so I was stuck living with my ex still for another couple of months. But I remember at one point, one night, I thought, let me just start packing up some books. And I had taken some books off the shelf and was putting them in a box. And one of the books I grabbed was a journal that I had started in 2008, a year before my diagnosis, a year before, my divorce. And what I did was, as I grabbed it, 2 pieces of paper fell into my lap. One was a bucket list, and the other one was a list that an ad that I had written for Saint Augustine's Craigslist. And because, the law of attraction, that's, I'm big on that. So I had written this way prior to my divorce, and the subject line said, wanted, writer's cottage. And then in the heading, or in the body of it, I put exactly what I wanted. Wanted to live in the historic district, have a metal roof, have room for gardening, have old world charm, sun porch, everything. And it was like a light bulb moment for me, and I thought, what is keeping me here in a loveless, house? Why am I waiting, So I literally went to the computer, typed in everything onto St. Augustine's Craigslist verbatim, hit the send button, and the second I hit the enter button, I thought, oh my God, what did I just do?
That's awesome.
And I thought, oh, well, I just gave it up. So the next morning I go and I open up my email, and what do you think I find? An email from some gentleman saying, I think I have your dream cottage. And he is a realtor from New Hampshire, and he and his wife just purchased a house like 2 months before in Saint Augustine, and they were working on it. It has everything I wanted. Everything.
Incredible.
And he was so jazzed by the whole thing. He said, I can't believe this. It's like karma. Everything just is falling into place. And they've been fantastic. And, and then I moved, like not even a month later.
Oh, that's incredible.
Yeah.
I love that story.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So I talk about the beauty of problems and fear in my book, and you really have, you've had a problem, you embraced it, and your life is better because of it. It's amazing. And fear, is there any other time where you felt fear or a problem that held you back?
Yes, for the most part, most of my career I taught pre-kindergarten, and I always, I loved what I did. I just was getting sick all the time from the kids' germs, and I think it was like 2005, I had gotten walking pneumonia, And I thought, this is crazy. I can't keep doing this. I was I was sick more often than not. But I still had this fear that was based on what my parents, how they drilled into me. You can't leave your job. You've got to keep a job with benefits. You have to have a 401k. You have to have a retirement. All that was right inside, but now it was another time in my life where I thought, I've got to try. And I was able to make a career change in the tourism industry.
Sounds fun.
Yeah, it was wonderful.
So I'm going to ask you what I've got titled here, Positive Influence Questions. Mm-hmm. And can you remember a time when you did something for someone else and they really appreciated it?
One that sticks out in my mind is when I was teaching. I had a little boy who was very precocious, and one day we were doing journaling, and he had drawn a picture, and it was a squiggly line across this white page with all these different color dots on it. And he kind of looked real pensive as he slid it across the table to me to dictate to me what he wanted me to write. And it was right, like 2 weeks before Christmas. And he said, we're not having Christmas this year. Santa's not coming to my house. And it just killed me. Here he is, 4 years old, and he said, my daddy lost his job and Santa's not coming, and these are the lights that my mommy hung on the wall in the kitchen. And I thought, oh, God. So that afternoon at nap time, I sprang into action, and I called one of the, top retail chains in the country, and I asked, if there was anything they could do for this family. And it was too late in the game for them, they said, because of, being so close to the holiday. So the next day, or that afternoon, I called another retailer, and the manager was awesome. He said, give me a day. I'll get with my people, and then just come by the store tomorrow at 2:30. So I had no idea what was, awaiting me, but it was during nap time, and of course I had my assistants there with the kids at nap time. So I called the mom, and I said, are you going to be home, like around 3 o'clock? And I didn't tell her what was going on, but I went to the store, and here was the manager and like 7 of his associates. And they walked me over to the tree displays, and they had one of the trees fully decorated and lights ready to give to this family. And every single one of them had tears in their eyes.
Wow.
I know, it was awesome. And they helped to put it into my helped to put it into my station wagon at the time. So I drove all the way to her house, her apartment, and walked in and was talking to her for a little bit, and then realized I saw on the kitchen wall there was the lights hanging. So I told her, I said, I have something for you in the car. And I told her the story about what her son had said. And she immediately started crying. And I said,
wow.
Just stay here, keep the door open for me. And I helped to haul in the tree, and we set the tree up. And I told her, I said, please don't tell him. So the next day, he comes running into the classroom and wraps his arms around me. And he said, Miss Jodi, Santa came to my house yesterday. And he brought me a tree. I know. He brought me a tree.
Oh, my God,
so
that's awesome. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. What was the mother's reaction like?
Oh, she was overwhelmed.
I love it.
Yeah.
That's great. Awesome story. What about sometimes someone did something really special for you? How did you feel and react?
I'm a giver, and it's so hard for me. And it wasn't until when I was at my sickest with the diagnosis, I still managed to drive to Miami for my treatments and stuff every time, even though, friends had offered. And it wasn't until I broke my arm and I have a stick shift car that I kind of had to relinquish that. So I would say it was when my friends would, start helping me when I allowed them to.
That's a little bit therapeutic in itself, allowing
yeah.
someone to help you.
Oh, yeah. It was.
I'm the same way. I always want to do things for others, and I don't,
Yeah.
allow enough. And
I
when
know.
you do, that's
I
kind
don't know
of
if
healing.
it's our pride or what it is, but yeah, it was learning curve for me.
That's right. Well, that's cool. And I want to ask you, in your life, considering all the great stuff you've told me, who's your greatest influence?
That would have been my mom. She was like way ahead of her time. She just always empowered me to nurture my gifts, and she always was very she always thought it was important for a woman to have her own special bank account just in case of an emergency. And she just was very influential.
I love it. Yeah, I can relate to that because I had a very strong mom and a smart mom also.
Mm-hmm.
I look around the world and I'm amazed at the beauty. There's such great things going on in the world, and there's so much positive, and that's really what drives the world.
Mm-hmm.
But there's also, it's not perfect. There's things that we could help. So, I think about different questions like I've had contests on my Goodology page where I asked if I gave you a gift of $100,
Mm-hmm.
what could you or would you do to make the world a better place? And so I'm going to ask you that, and then I want to ask you a question about your books. So with that $100, what would you do, or what creatively could you do?
I would have to say probably help the homeless in one way or another. Try to find somebody that's struggling as a a single mom that might need extra money, or and then I'd probably use it that way.
That's awesome, because $100 is gonna, they'll go through it. So it's as much about the fact that you gave it, the feeling in giving,
right,
to inspire them and show them support, as it is about the actual money.
And I've done the pay it forward thing, like in the line at Dunkin' Donuts, when driving through the drive-thru. Yeah, and I love that because you never know how far it will go. Or, somebody might have struggled to get $2 together to get a cup of coffee, and you're taking care of them for the morning.
And I had a different contest a few years ago, and people were coming in with that answer, and that's something that I didn't even know about, and so that was kind of cool.
Mm-hmm.
So if one of the Goodology Radio listeners bought 25 of your books to give away, how would it make the world a better place?
Hopefully it would inspire others and, help others to know that they're not alone. I mean, I have, my children's book, which is part of my Empowering Children series, and then the Living with Vida Lymphoma, and then the House on Pancake Hill. But I just hope that others would be inspired.
You've got several books, so I'd like you to, again, repeat what the books are, and I'll include those on the website in the show notes. And let us know your website, how to get a hold of you, and anything else you'd like to add.
Okay. If anybody needs to get a hold of me, they can reach me at Jodi Sykes, JodiSykes, @AOL.com. They can check out my blog at www.livinglavida, or my author site, which is jodisykes.blogspot.com. They can find me on Facebook at Jodi Sykes, or author Jodi Sykes, or The House on Pancake Hill. And the books are I Am Special, The Power Is in Me. That's my children's book. And
awesome.
Living with Vida Lymphoma, and The House on Pancake Hill.
So the book, I Am Special, there's another author that I will interview tomorrow, and he's written children's books. And I was working at a school for homeless kids here in Phoenix,
mm-hmm.
and I bought 25 of the books. And when I went back into the school, the teacher almost hugged me because he appreciated him so much.
Oh.
And so I just thought the same. That's where I got that question if I bought 25 books.
Wow.
And
Well,
so that's cool.
Yeah, mine are ebooks, but teachers, I've gotten feedback that teachers and anti-bullying groups are using them in, with an ebook format. And I had a wonderful thing happen just recently. A cousin of mine in New York had let me know. She called me up to tell me that her grandsons were visiting because they'd had a snow day. They were going to spend the night, and she downloaded the children's book and read it to them, and they were so excited that she knew a real author. And,
oh, awesome!
And it's based on a guided meditation that I used to use in the classroom. And it empowers children to focus on, to know that every question that they have, if they take time to breathe and have inner reflection, that all the answers that they ever need are within them. And it ended up opening up a line of communication with them. And the younger grandson who's 6 had said, I don't like going to school. Kids can be mean. So they talked about it in depth. And the next morning, she fed them breakfast. I was getting them ready to go to school. And they're standing there on the front porch, and the little one runs back in the house and says, I'll be right back. I forgot something. So she's waiting, and she's waiting. And she's thinking something's taking him too long. She goes inside, and there he is sitting in a lotus position, hands turned upwards on his lap, doing his breathing before school.
Good boy. Wow. Yeah, I wanted to hear a little bit about that book because, and even if it is online, that could be a better thing in the world today with the computers that the schools have.
Yeah, and then teachers are hooking them up somehow, like with a USB cord, I guess, and they can project it onto the wall or onto a screen. Right. Yeah. All
right, Jodi, is there anything else you want to share with us?
Not that I can think of, but I am so thankful to have shared this talk with you, and you inspire me.
I was just going to say the same thing. I appreciate that, but you're such an inspiration, and thank you so much, and I look forward to communicating you more in the future.
Thank you so much, Bernie. Have a great day.
You too, Jodi. Thanks.
Uh-huh.
So that was my discussion with the amazing Jodi Sykes. Visit Goodology.com to see all of her books. Like us on Facebook at facebook.com/Goodology. On Twitter, we're at Goodology. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time. Have a great day. Bye-bye.